and welcome to Listen Up. We've got, well, not a lot, but a little to talk about, so we'll get right into our top 5 topics. We're going to start things off with a Masters recap. What did you make of Tiger's 2-stroke penalty and Adam Scott's big win?
You know me, Alex. I love golf, but they have a lot of stupid things. There's a lot of dumb stuff that goes on in golf, and this penalty and the silly rules that they have is one of them. I think that one of the worst things about this sport is the snitches hotline. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it the snitches hotline, where you can call in and tell on one of the players. And the fact that the golf media and some golf members are so pretentious about the fact that, oh, Tiger broke a rule, he should take himself out of the tournament. You know what? That's stupid, because it's a sport. Like, it's just, oh gosh, it just makes me so mad, because I do like golf a lot, but there's a lot of bad things that go along with it. But for me, it's just so unfair to penalize a guy that every shot is chronicled on tape, whereas if you or I are playing out there, no one is taking the videotape to them until we get into contention, whereas you're going to see every single one of Tiger's shots, which means he has a exponentially higher possibility of getting called out for doing something minuscule wrong. So for me, that bugs me a ton. But I'll say this. The finish of the Masters and the way Adam Scott won was great. I wanted Cabrera to win. I was really hoping for a 3-way tie between Jason Day, Cabrera, and Adam Scott. I wanted to see that 3-man playoff, but we didn't get that. But I thought it was great because you saw beautiful golf shots from both of the players, and no one lost it. I appreciated the fact that Scott had to make a putt on the 10th green in the second hole of the playoff instead of having Cabrera miss a 2-foot putt or something silly like that. He had to earn it. He did earn it, so good for Adam Scott. I think that it was a great finish to Masters, even without Tiger being in contention, which he might have been if not for the fact that he had the 2-stroke penalty.
Yeah, and I was fine with Adam Scott winning it. He's a guy that's been in the mix a lot. He's Australian, so that's fun. I did mention him, so I get to pretend that I knew something about golf. Totally do not, by the way. Free hint. But my biggest problem with this, and I'm glad that you copped to some of the silly things that golf does. I was worried you'd come in here and try and defend them a little bit, so
not today.
I'm proud of
Not
you for
today.
doing that. But let me ask you this question. Why are professional golfers still keeping their own scores? We have a bunch of professionals on the golf course who do that. We have the media who does that, the fans, robots. I don't know. There are tons of different ways for us to keep track of their scores. Why are they still doing it? Why is this always a controversy every few years? Someone didn't sign their scorecard. Ooh, like, you know why this isn't a problem in the other leagues? Because they're too busy playing sports. It drives me insane. I think it's really dumb that this controversy happened in the first place, and that all these, those golf purists that you mentioned just piled on because, oh, well, he signed the card. He knew what was... Give me a break. I think that it's so stupid. I think that golf is completely right to only penalize Tiger. For all those people saying he should withdraw, go get a life, please.
I agree with that. Here's the thing. I don't mind them keeping their own score because they don't even have to hold their own bag at this point. They can write the score down as they go. But here's the thing. For me, the fact that they said, okay, you're good, Tiger, and then go back later and change the decision, that's what kills me, especially when you go back, and now you've looked at a couple pictures. Now, nothing has been, there's no hard evidence of this, but you see some pictures, and it looks like he's maybe dropping the ball about 2 inches back from where he dropped it, or from where he hit it originally. So if that was all created because of that, and they penalize him for no reason, then golf looks even stupider. But, I don't know. For me, it's just... There are some things about golf that are so old-fashioned that are dumb, and maybe part of it is having someone else keep your own score for you, but I don't know. It's a shame, but I think that what prevailed is that you still got a great finish, and that there are still a lot of people tuned in because it's the Masters, and the Masters has an aura around it that you don't necessarily need Tiger. Now, if this was a U.S. Open or a PGA Championship, maybe we don't have an exciting finish. And maybe it's exciting, but maybe not as many people are tuning in because they're so fed up with golf.
Yeah, what drives me crazy is the people who said that he deserved to be disqualified outright by the PGA.
Stupid.
And here's the thing. Even if he had taken 2, big, giant steps forward and dropped his ball right next to the hole, I still wouldn't have had that much of a problem if they just penalized him. You know why? He's Tiger Woods. He should be in the sport. This is entertainment after all. We need to entertain people. So the fact that just, there's this snitches hotline, like you said, and that we're obsessing over this little minutia that has no real consequence on the outcome, because I just don't think he was going to, maybe he'd been in contention, I don't think he was going to win. I have a really hard time getting as worked up about it as so many people did. When I woke up that Sunday morning, I hadn't really heard about it the night before, and I was just blasted by the fury of all this over something that's so insignificant to me. I just don't understand it.
I'll say this: if he doesn't hit the pin and it rolls into the water, that's essentially 3 strokes that he loses, which would put him at 8 under, which would have put him at a tie at the end of it. It's kind of a bummer, because that would have been fun. All right, let's talk about the NBA now. Kobe tore his Achilles heel. He's out for the season. He's going to miss the playoffs. But what do you think about him? Do you think he can come back? And if he does come back, how much can he possibly have left in the tank?
Well, I will just say up front, before I say anything else, I will never bet against Kobe, particularly when it comes to injuries. I've seen him play his way through too many injuries, minor and major, the crazy broken finger, to ever doubt him. And he's got a very acute sense of his place in history. He knows exactly where he is, to the point, I can guarantee you, on the all-time scoring list. He's putting himself up against Jordan, even if we aren't. He is going to feel the obligation.
He's doing the calculations.
That's right. He is going to feel the obligation to try and come back so that he can, at least in his mind, equal Jordan. That being said, this was a terrible injury for any NBA player to have, let alone one as old as Kobe. They actually just did a study at Drexel University on how NBA athletes have coped with Achilles injuries. They studied 18 players at a range of ages and positions. 7 never played again. The rest of the 11 saw steep performance decreases. They saw their PER drop by 4.64 their first year back, 4.28 the next year. That hurts, even for someone as good as Kobe.
Yeah, and like you said, if anyone can make it back at that age, you're going to bet on Kobe. You just are. But here's the thing. It happened so late in the season. So what? Maybe he comes back for the second half. Probably a little bit less than second half for next year. And if that's the case, and he's only playing that next year possibly, let's just say, that's a lot of rehab, a lot of strenuous rehab to get back for maybe 30, 35 games plus the playoffs. Maybe. You don't know what the complexion of this Lakers team, which will be the most interesting offseason, what they're going to do, because they don't technically have Dwight back yet. They have to sign him for a long term if they want him. So that is just such an interesting proposition. And then let's say that he's coming back and he wants to play for one more year after that. It's still a lot of rehab just for a year and a half, really, of play left. So I don't know. If it were me and I was in Kobe's position, I would say, you know what, I've had a great career. I've done a lot of good stuff, and I'm not going to put my body through this one more time, and I'm just going to hang it up. But I don't have the drive that Kobe does, and Kobe is wired differently. We know that. So maybe he does. But I just think that you don't even know the future with the Lakers in terms of, will he be back with the Lakers if he goes through next year? Because he'll probably command a lot of money, and the Lakers might not want to give him a lot of money if he's coming off an Achilles rupture and all this, and someone else will give him the money. But do you really want to see Kobe play 2 more years maybe in another uniform?
I don't think it would ever come to that. I think that no matter what, the Lakers would keep him around. The better question is, you just look at the comparisons of the guys. I've heard a lot of people throw out Dominique Wilkins. And you're right, he had an Achilles injury relatively late in his career. He played 10 seasons. But it's worth noting, he came back and averaged 30 points. It looked really good. He played about half the minutes Kobe has right now. Then, instead, you look at a guy like Isaiah Thomas, who played 3 more seasons than Neek, Achilles tear, never played again. Even still, he played 15,000 fewer minutes than Kobe Bryant has right now, when you count regular season and playoffs. That's crazy, and I won't doubt Kobe. He's a freak. He's insane. He wants to come back. He's a true outlier in every sense of the word that there is. So, I can see him coming back. I can see him playing for the Lakers. Will it be sad to watch him out there as a shadow of his former self? I think it might be.
This will be my last thing that I'll say about this. With the way we see people recover from injuries nowadays, however they do that, whether it's PEDs or whatever, I know that a lot of us don't care how they come back at this point. But you look at someone like Adrian Peterson and you think, maybe Kobe can go back a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. They're not all Derrick Roses. How about that?
Exceptionally true. We're going to stay in the NBA. Let's hear some of your season-ending awards. Who do you like for MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, anything else?
All right, I'll start with the MVP because that's the easy one.
Yep.
It's got to be LeBron James. You look, if anyone's saying it's not LeBron James, they're crazy. I'll give you one thing, and that's it: 26.8 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 7.3 assists per game. That's all I have to give you. That's it, and that's the MVP award. So that is good. Let's see. Moving on, Rookie of the Year. All right, it's going to be Damian Lillard, but I'll say this: if Beal had not gotten hurt, I think that there's a great case to be made. He would have been He shot 50%. From behind the three-point line. He would have probably moved his average up to probably around 15, 16 points a game. Once he got into his rhythm of the year after the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, he was averaging around 18.5 points a game, which is great. And he was outplaying Lillard after Damian's really, really fast start, and he kind of tailed off towards the end of the year. But really, I don't think that there's anyone else that you can say. Anthony Davis was hurt too much as well, in my opinion. So for those, it's going to be easy Lillard, easy LeBron James. And for Coach of the Year, I'm looking at Mike Woodson, and the reason why is he somehow found a way to make the Knicks look like they knew how to play defense. So with that roster complexion, that is the most incredible thing I've ever seen done by a coach. So I'll give it to Mike Woodson.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't even talk about MVP. Why are we wasting our time? I mean, I love that Carmelo reinvented himself. I love Durant. I think he should have an MVP at some point in his career. It just can't be this year, unfortunately, or any one of the next 5. It sure seems like. So MVP is not really a conversation. I agree with you about Rookie of the Year. I think if we're going to play the injury game, however, you have to say Anthony Davis. If he's the one that doesn't get hurt, I think he's the one to take it, just because guys are going to be so much more willing to vote for the defense, rebound, energy guy than a pair of pure scorers like Beal and Lillard. But as it is right now, Lillard basically is the offense, not Portland team. But then again, they're pretty terrible, so that's not really saying a whole heck of a lot right now. I agree with you, Mike Woodson. I'm happy to hear that. I've heard a lot of people say Greg Popovich. Maybe I'm just tired of getting, old Pops the Coach of the Year award, and he deserves it. He kept the Spurs chugging along. He reinvented them as an offense-first team. He got the most out of a group of stars that we all really thought were going to fall apart at this point. Every year.
The last 3 years.
And he manages to keep doing it. But I agree. I think that what Mike Woodson did in shaping Melo, using his new abilities to just make them the most offense-happy 3-shooting team that is in the East right now outside of Miami, and then somehow also weaving in these new defensive strategies to make them an engaging defensive team beyond just Tyson Chandler. I think that's really impressive. I mean, and hey, he made J.R. Smith into the 6th man of the year. What more can you say about the guy?
This is very true. Now, I'll say this about Pop, too, is that essentially he's got, shells of former stars, and he has just decided, he's figured out a way to get the most out of the rotation guys and the bench guys and Kawhi Leonard, and so for that, I won't be surprised if he wins it, and I won't say that he doesn't deserve it either. For my one different award, I will give you Grievous Vasquez for the most improved player, because I saw him and I admired him when he was at Maryland. He played 4 years there, but I never said to myself, man, that's a point guard in the NBA. And the fact that he has somehow created himself a little role, even if it is on a bad team, I'm really impressed with that. And I think it's incredible that he's been able to do that, and that he can't play defense at all, but he has made himself useful in the NBA. I really do. I think that's impressive. So I will say him for the most improved, even though everyone is kind of leaning towards Larry Sanders.
I was just gonna
which
say,
I understand.
It's kind of a dumb award. I don't really think that we should have most improved player, but if we want to give it to someone, how can you not give it to
I understand.
Larry Sanders in all caps with the exclamation point? I love that guy.
Any more before we move on?
No, not even a little.
All right, sounds good. Let's talk about baseball. Oof. All right, the Braves have won a staggering 10 games in a row. The curse of listen up, they lost this afternoon. We have done this now 3 of the last 4 weeks.
Yep.
That is incredible stuff. We gotta start talking about the other teams I dislike, but I'm glad that we did it to the Braves. But do you think that this is a sign of things to come, or is it a flash in the pan?
I think it's a little bit of both. The 12-2 record sure looks good. The 4-game lead over the Nationals in the division looks good, but it's worth considering the circumstances that created. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that it's easy to win 10 games in a row, but the fact that 7 out of the 10 wins came against bottom feeders like the Cubs, the Marlins, and the Royals, that certainly helps your case, even if they did look very impressive in the series sweep over the Nats. So that being said, I just think that more than anything, this affirms a lot of what we already knew about the NL East. I think as much as I love the Nationals, as much as everyone loved the Nationals, I don't think anyone out there thought that Atlanta wouldn't give them a run for their money.
Agreed.
I think that, they'll very much sort of even out. The Nats are a little down, the Braves are a little up. I think it'll even out as time goes by. But, so it looks good now, but I really don't think this streak has taught us anything we didn't already know.
Here's the thing. They are getting some incredible overachievement play. Chris Johnson taking over really for Chipper Jones at the moment has looked like Chipper Jones. So that alone, then you look at the fact that Evan Gattis has taken over for Brian McCann, who's on the shelf at the moment. He's hit 4 home runs, has 10 RBI in 11 games so far. So he's playing out of his mind. And I think that they're going to continue to get the same kind of production from Upton and when Freeman comes out, what Freeman was doing before he got hurt. But I think that everyone else is going to start regressing a little bit because these are guys that are having career 15 games. So
yeah.
It'll come down. But here's the thing. You can't diminish the fact that they've won 10 games in a row and that they shot out to such a big lead, because if they keep a lead, something similar to this, if they just play the same now at the moment as the Nationals do for, let's say, the next 2 months, which we could very easily see, and they take about a 4.5, 5-game lead in July, well, then it starts to get scary for the Nationals and for the rest of the NL, because they will be able to keep that lead. It's so hard to jump 5 games on someone over a 2.5, 3 month stretch. So I think that the next 2 months are very important. We've talked about this a bunch before. 45 games for me before I judge anything, but I do think they look good, and they're not healthy yet.
Yeah.
So that is a big point. They don't have Freddie Freeman. They don't have McCann. So if they can get healthy, you'd think that they can make up for the regression that's going to happen elsewhere.
Yeah, but you mentioned regression. Paul Mahal. Look, I love the guy when he was a Pirate, but is he going to keep winning games for them? No. I just have a really hard time seeing it. I watched him for a lot of time.
Fair enough.
And we knew that Justin Upton was going to do this. We knew he was going to make the Diamondbacks look stupid. 8 home runs in 14 games. How's that looking right about now, Arizona? You happy with that trade?
The Nationals should be extremely angry at Arizona.
Yeah,
really upset.
Yeah, did they have to get that guy into your division? I would be angry too.
Terribly mean.
But I just think that, as much as it's, easy to foresee the Braves holding on, I think it's bound to happen. There's so much of their strength is tied up in pitching that isn't necessarily the youngest. Tim Hudson goes down, what happens to that top of the rotation? Craig Kimball goes down, what happens to the bullpen? So I think that the Nationals will be just fine. I wouldn't worry about them. Faith in a Washington team.
I didn't know you were going to be coming in here and making me feel so good about
You're
this.
welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on over to the NHL. They're planning to have a 6-game outdoor schedule in 2014 with matches in Ann Arbor, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and Vancouver. Does this seem like a good move to you for the future of the league?
Here's the thing. I think it will take away from the ratings that you're going to give these outdoors games. They're not going to be a Winter Classic every time. You're not going to get that huge boost in the ratings. And I think it could possibly diminish from the Winter Classic because all these other games, whereas you're getting all the hockey fans across America and Canada saying, oh, let's go watch this really cool outdoor game. Well, now 12 of the teams, or I guess 10 other teams, can say to themselves, oh, hey, my team's playing. I don't have to watch this other Winter Classic game. I'm going to get to see an outdoor game in a couple of months. So for me, I think that it could diminish it a little bit, but the exposure of the different teams, I think, is really great. And it's good for fans because it makes it so that not only 2 teams are getting an outdoor game every year, you're making, at this point, 12 teams. So that is a great thing for hockey and hockey fans, and I think it's a nice thing for after the lockout and after some of the stuff they've had to deal with. So in general, I think it's a good idea, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've mixed feelings about it. I love the Winter Classic. It always gets huge ratings.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that there is a little bit of a market to see, maybe a few more games. I'm not sure 6 was needed necessarily. My bigger problem with this comes in the fact that they want to put one in Dodger Stadium. Because to me, that's an endorsement from the league of something that I feel has been their biggest problem, and that's their gradual overexpansion out west. Now, I know Los Angeles is a little more of a hockey town now that the Kings have won. It's not like I'm suggested that Los Angeles needs to get contracted in terms of contraction. I'm looking at you, Phoenix. But I just think that it's sort of tacitly supporting this message that, oh, we want everyone to have hockey. Everyone should have it, when I think that's the wrong approach. I think Gary Bettman is better off saying, look, it's the East Coast and it's Canada. And I like that they're going up there to Vancouver. The literal and figurative Canucks will appreciate that. But at the same time, it's an we need to more clearly establish it as a cold weather, East Coast-based thing. I think that's where you're going to see the most success. If you're trying to play to all these other audiences, I just don't know how successful you're going to be.
I'll say this, though, in terms of money-wise for the league, if they're losing it in ratings, they're getting it in revenue at those games. If you think about playing at the Big House, you're getting 75, 80, 85,000 more tickets sold than you normally would, and all of those games will be sold out.
Yep, Very true.
All right, let's talk about Pick'em now. Alex cheated me out of it. We're not going to talk about it. It's a long story, but I'm still down 4-1. Let's start with hockey, our favorite sport here sometimes. Islanders at Maple Leafs. Who do you got?
Well, they're surprisingly both top 10 offenses in the league. If you would have thought, the Islanders are 8, the Maple Leafs are 6, so it should be fun. They're even within a few points of each other at the bottom of the East. I've never really trusted Evgeny Nabokov, however, so I will stick with Toronto and the home ice advantage here.
The Maple Leafs are so close to clinching right now. They could do it with a win against the Islanders and a loss from Winnipeg, but I just saw them get their pants whipped off by the Capitals, and I think that the Islanders are a pretty good young team. They're interesting, so I'll go with the Islanders. Why not?
All right, speaking of those Capitals, we got the Caps visiting the Canadiens.
Well, by the time they play against the Canadiens, they will have then won 9 in a row after winning on Thursday night.
Not if
against
we've
Ottawa.
talked about it now, not on Listen Up.
I'm so sorry, Caps. But you know what? Shoot, I'll go with the Capitals. They've done well in Montreal. It's Ovi's favorite place to play, and he has been hot lately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm morally obligated to pick against the Caps, but it is worth mentioning that, they beat the Habs the last time they played them. So I'm just going to go ahead and hope that Montreal's efficient offense, slightly better defense is enough to help them shut down the streaking Caps. Keep the curse going.
All right, baseball. Dodgers with Rue starting against the Orioles. Hamels on the hill for them.
Fun little interleague series. I like what I've seen from the Orioles so far. Their demise hasn't been quite as sudden, whereas the Dodgers have been just about as bad as everyone thought they'd be early on. But at the same time, you mentioned it, I can't say it, but Hyun-Jin Ryu, whatever, is a real deal. No matter how you say his name, 20 strikeouts, just 3 walks over his first 3 starts. I think he's too much for the O's to handle Los Angeles.
I'm going to go with the O's. Technically, Hamel is their ace, so, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Why not? More baseball. We got the Athletics with Brett Anderson at the Rays and Alex Cobb.
I'm going to go with the Athletics, mostly because the Rays have been disappointing this year. They've kind of hurt me a couple times and pick them. And for me, the A's have looked really good, and I think they've got a very much us against the world feeling right now. So I'm going to keep going with the A's.
Yeah, we're going to keep up. We're going to end the disagreements, I should say. I'm with you here on Athletics. They've got the best offense in the league in terms of runs scored, as odd as that is. I like Alex Cobb and his sub-2 ERA on the old fantasy team. But even that being said, I will go against my beloved Rays once again. Worked out last week. Oakland.
Cardinals at Phillies, Garcia and Holiday on the hill, respectively, for their 2 teams.
Well, I like the Phillies, but man, it's been rough to watch Roy Halladay right about now. His ERA is over 7. Now, some of that might just be bad luck. He's allowed a few homers. I'd like to make a case for him with his, he's still doubling strikeouts and walks, but still, you got to go with Jaime Garcia and his 1.63 ERA Cards.
There is no way I'm picking the Phillies.
Wow. Okay. Well. Brutally honest. We're going to move right along to Pick'em. We're going to start things off. Pick'em. Quick hits. Wow.
It's been a long week, guys.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, no matter what segment it is, T-Mac is signing with the Spurs for the playoffs. Do you think that's a good move?
It would be really, really funny if the Spurs suddenly lose the first round and continue the curse of T-Mac never winning a playoff series.
It's a retirement home anyway. He'll fit right in.
Oh, I like it. Vikings receiver Jerome Simpson recently had 2 pairs of Air Jordans and a $600 tea set stolen from his porch. Can you think of a more bizarre athlete robbery?
The man can appreciate his tea. Someone help him out and return it.
Honestly, I can't.
Fair enough. The FBI recently raided the corporate headquarters of the company that the new Browns owner is CEO of. Can things get any worse in Cleveland?
Cleveland, man. That's all I got.
As a Steelers fan, they truly never disappoint.
Monday's Mets-Rockies game was canceled after the ballpark got 4 inches of snow. As a Blacksburg resident, do you understand their plight?
Considering that we got 5 inches just 2 weeks ago, and it's now 70 degrees, almost 80 every day, I certainly do.
The best part is that they play a doubleheader the next day, and there was about 100 people at the game with 30-degree weather. Good showing.
Absolutely. Finally, the MLB is upset with Dodgers outfielder Carl Crawford after he wore mismatched shoes in honor of Jackie Robinson. That seemed like an issue to you?
Who does Major League Baseball think they are? The NFL?
I think it's hilarious because everyone around the major leagues was honoring Major League Baseball, but Carl wasn't doing it the right way. Shame on you, Carl. How dare you?
Thanks for watching Listen Up this week.